quotation, it tells us that we need to add meaning to our lives. We have to have something to fight for, a purpose to achieve, or a goal, in order to make sure that our lives are worthwhile. And so I'll be encompassing this through two main areas of analysis, by first looking at needing opposing forces to fight and needing something to fight for. But first, let's look towards needing opposing forces to fight. Obviously, if you're fighting against someone, it's easier when you have something that motivates you, another person pushing you to fight against them to reach that goal. And we'll be looking at opponent process theory, in which it states that two opposing emotions actually war with each other inside of a person to make them decide which emotion they're going to go with and which emotion they're going to choose to follow. For example, if someone chooses like anger over happiness, then they're choosing vengeance or things like that that would come out of that sort of choosing anger. And through this we can see the famous inventor Nikola Tesla. Now, he was the inventor of electricity and different inventions. However, his stuff got stolen by Edison, and Edison took all the credit. However, this didn't stop Nikola Tesla. He chose to continue fighting for his inventions and for what he could bring to the world, instead of just simply falling back to revenge and keeping within that sort of stasis where he couldn't do anything. So he chose to fight against Edison, to fight against something that was keeping him back. But now that we've looked at needing something to fight against, we should also look towards needing something to fight for. And we see this through motivation theory, which states that someone will accept a goal regardless of whether or not it's seen as a laudable goal by either society or by other standards or a certain group. And so they choose to achieve this goal even with all of the dissent around them. And we see this exemplified through Richard the Lionheart, which during the Crusades chose to continue fighting even though he saw that Europe, or the European countries, were losing the battle in the Holy Land. He chose to continue fighting because he believed that saving the Holy Land was something that needed to be done, that they needed to take back what was happening in the Holy Land with the destruction and the torture of pilgrims in the area, and helping to gain back something that was uniquely theirs for their religion, or so he thought. And this motivated him to fight for something, and through this fight, he chose to live, to add meaning to his life, and this is what he fought for. This is his motivation to continue adding meaning to his life, without which he would have simply gone back to his wife and not added any meaning at all, and would have just kept being a rich lord somewhere. And so, when we look towards the quotation today, if we are not connected through something, art or theater or living or moving about, then it fails to matter. We fail to connect, we fail to live, by Alec Guinness. And this quotation simply means that we need to add meaning to our lives, whether it be through fighting for something or not. We need to make sure that we have a purpose in our lives to move forward. And I took this through main areas of analysis by first looking at opposing forces that we need to fight against something to add meaning to that life, and secondly, that we need something to fight for in order to fuel that sort of necessity to achieve something, achieve meaning in our lives. So when we look back towards Supernatural and the two brothers fighting to not only save people, but eventually save the world from all sorts of catastrophes, we see that even though their lives might have been full of pain and sorrow, it is this fight that added meaning to their lives and made sure that they continued fighting for the sake of the lives that they were trying to save.